Here are some tips for your final presentation. You need to display UML in your final presentation, but when it's small, it's going to be really difficult to read and really difficult to talk about. Instead, we want to make it fill the entire screen so that we can read it. You can also use some features of video editing techniques to identify key points that you're talking about, so you can draw and make those connections where you need to. So in this case, supplier ID links to supplier ID. Another thing that I've seen a lot is that students don't know how to tell stories about queries. They're very good at copying and pasting their text of their queries into their final presentations, but they don't always make it into a narrative, and that makes for a really boring presentation. Here are kind of the two ways to talk about this query that we see before us. The first one is just to kind of read it. So what this query does is it takes the information from the physician table and the procedure table. It finds all the times that a specific physician, in this case Dr. Kellogg, appears, and it also has a date of 2015, 09, 01. So all procedures after that date with Dr. Kellogg, it'll list out. And that's all they do. I can read a query. I know what that query does. What I'd rather have is a narrative. So let's say Dr. Kellogg comes into the office and he wants to see all of the procedures that he has upcoming for the month. He'll probably click a button that'll show him his procedures for the month, and this query is what that button will do. It'll pull out all the information and it'll sort to see the remaining ones for the month after 2005 2005 September 1st, and it'll look for only ones that he has. So instead of just giving the bare bones of it, make sure to tell a story about it. Dr. Kellogg wants to plan out his month and to see what procedures he has scheduled to make sure he doesn't have any conflicts. In order to see those procedures, he'll run this query. Don't just give me the query, give me a use case of it. Here's another common thing I've seen. People will get results and they will display them like this. Here are salaries and within various ranges. So there are 6 people with $25,000 salary. There's 3 people with $45,000 salary. It doesn't really make a point at all. This is a bad way to display it. The only thing we can kind of see is that there are 6 people that make $25,000 and 6 people that make $35,000 and not much else. Here's a slightly better way of displaying that information. We can see that there are spikes, and so our eyes are drawn up to the spikes, and I'll highlight those. And we can basically see that it's a normal distribution, that there's one person that makes only like $4,000 and there's one person that makes about $55,000, and everyone else is kind of towards the middle. Here's an even better way, is to use distributions and distribution ranges to better sort out that distribution curve. It's better than to have all of the dots, specifically because even those dots, the jagged lines, don't necessarily tell us much. In this case, it tells us that, yeah, we have a pretty normal distribution for our salary ranges. If we had a lot of people making a lot of money and very little and all the rest of the people making down here, that would be pretty skewed, and we might have to cut some upper management to make sure we're hiring more in the middle tier. This is the best way to do it. You're giving both numerical information as well as visual representation of that. We can see salaries compared to sales. We see that our total salaries is over $1 million, but our total sales is not. So we have a net loss right now in the company because our salaries are more than the incoming sales. So there's a problem here, and this is a clear way to identify a problem. In your database, you're going to be making up information, but I would advise you to make up information that demonstrates a clear problem. You can do Excel, you can do randomized data that may generate a problem, or you can nitpick specific elements of the data to make sure that you're clearly identifying something that the hospital can act on. That'll make your queries a lot more efficient. It'll make the narratives around them even better, and then it'll help you with the final part of the presentation. You need a call to action at the end. Call to action, in this case, based on our previous data that we just covered, I'd say you need to retain the high-performing employees and you need to increase sales. These sub-bullets are ways that you could dig into the data to better provide information about how to do that. You could see every employee's sales compared to their salary, and if it's significantly lower, they're probably an employee that you should let go. That's going to save you their salary every year, and you should hire someone that is going to do more sales. You can adjust pricing, identify the best sellers from your orders table. All of those are really good information, and you could even do more queries to get specific employees to let go or specific items that you need to promote more. So the action steps could lead to more queries in the database. It would be really helpful if you had those queries to make your action steps even more specific and to make the narratives around your queries even more interesting. Final takeaways. Number one, when you're recording, stay calm. You can re-record at any time. I've actually re-recorded several of these slides, and you might have noticed, but probably not. You can, if you use Office Mix, you can delete the recording per a single slide and start recording from there again. You can add a slide and record information in the middle if you forgot to do something and want to go back. You can do a lot of things that can make your presentation better without having to go through the entire thing again. Dress nice. I'd prefer interview level attire. Obviously, I'm only going to see a headshot of you, so you don't necessarily need to wear nice clothes on the bottom half, but if you wear a tie for guys or a nice blouse or dress shirt for girls, that's appropriate interview attire. Practice beforehand. Even though you can re-record, it's useful to know exactly what you're going to say. It's useful to have a plan. It's useful to go through it once to see where you might need to add things. If you keep re-recording and re-recording and re-recording, it's going to take a long time. So instead of doing that, just practice beforehand, make sure you know what you're going to do, and then do it. All right, good luck on your final presentation.